What is up, everyone? We are back for another LB7 Duramax video. Behind me, the engine is in the truck. I went ahead and set it in off camera because I hate moving a camera around when I'm trying to concentrate. So now that the engine's in, we got a lot of work to do, so let's get right into it. So since the last video, really all I've done is some small things on the motor, getting some stuff tightened up. Went ahead and got the oil lines on the turbo done. The turbo I installed with the engine. So I installed the turbo first, then put the engine in. A bunch of people said I can't, which really, if I had like an S300, I could see where that would be an issue, because the clearance here is actually insane. Like, that's my hand right there. It doesn't even like fit. So if I had a larger exhaust housing, that would have been an issue, but thankfully it was not. This can still go down a little bit. The engine mounts, I tightened these first. I should have left these loose. The holes barely line up. You can kind of see them. I could probably get the bolts in, but I'll have to loosen those up and get this set down. I got a bunch of small stuff, like I got to heat rep the downpipe, run the wiring, just a lot of small stuff. I got to get the grounds. I did clean off the grounds before I put the engine in. Got to get all that set up. The torque converter bolts aren't in yet. Like, I literally just set this in here, put in the bell housing bolts, like 4 of them, and then that's the start of the video. So have not missed much, but gonna get the front engine brackets on. I'd really like to get the core support on in this video. I don't know how far we're gonna get because I do not have a tune for this. We'll have to see how quick I can get a tune. I think I should be good to start it on the stock tune. I also have to cap off this coolant line right here because we're running an S300. This is an S364.5 SXE. It's got the weird compressor wheel. It's like a split fin design. So the exducer side of the wheel has extra fins to help get the air flowing through the turbo, but it has less fins on the front to get a bigger bite of air. So 73 millimeter exhaust wheel, 0.91 exhaust housing. I believe that wheel is billet. It's a super basic turbo. Should get about 40 pounds of boost if I really push this thing, maybe 45. Not anything crazy. Really, if 500 wheel for this truck, that's gonna be more than enough. Probably gonna make closer to 550, maybe even 600 with a max effort tune. Maybe even a little more than that, but I'm not gonna go max effort. I think I'm gonna do like a single, maybe 550 wheel. Not gonna do anything crazy. Allison is built. You can go back and watch previous videos, but enough talking. Let's get working on this engine. First things first, I'm going to get the not fun stuff. That is the motor mounts and torque converter bolts. So just like that, I got the torque converter bolted in, the motor mounts bolted on. That was boring. I wanted to get that out of the way. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the starter on. I need to hook up the starter wire, and then I got to run the ignition wire to it. I got to get that wiring harness out and ran. I got to get the grounds hooked up for the batteries. Again, I cleaned up these spots before I put the engine in because I didn't want to clean them in frame. And then after that's done, I think I'm going to start bolting on the accessory brackets. This oil line right here, there's a bolt hole, so I'm going to get a little tab and kind of bolt that like that so it looks a little more clean. I did angle this a little bit to where the feed's kind of angled down like that. The drain does not have to be below. It just has to be like able to drain, obviously. I saw some people that say it has to be a straight up and down, but I've seen a million people run it this way. Just a little angled so it can look a little more clean, and your wires or oil lines can just kind of flow better behind stuff. So just gonna leave it like that. The compressor housing, I did go ahead and tighten. I've seen a lot of people been angling them down. I don't know if that's required for this kit. I guess we'll find that out later. It doesn't matter anyway. It's going to perform the same no matter way it faces, but I'm going to go ahead and get that starter in, and then we'll start on the front brackets. The starter is in. The oil dipstick I'm going to do something different with. I don't know if I'm going to tuck it over here. I saw some guy did that. I saw some guy that like hit it like up behind the air box, but I'm not going to leave it right here because it kind of gets in the way of the air tube. So I'm going to leave that how it is for right now. Accessories, I think I'm going to do first because I really don't want to do the trans lines right now. Got some new pulleys and stuff right here, fresh from China. I do have a new XDP alternator. This is a 220 amp alternator. This is not from China. This is from XDP. And then I got a D-Max Store power steering pump over here, so we're going to get all this stuff installed. Now I got both accessory brackets on. I'm going to go ahead and get the alternator set in now. And now I got the alternator on. I need to get the AC compressor cleaned up, get it back on. This oil line I'm probably going to run on one of the tabs on the side of the Fickum bracket here. I'll get the Fickum mounted, and then it's going to be about time to start doing some wiring, unfortunately. Getting more parts and pieces thrown on here. The tensioner, this is a plastic wheel. I did buy a cheaper one because I didn't want to spend money on a new one, but the old one has a metal wheel, so I think I'm going to swap that over. This part feels fine, but I just don't want to run a plastic wheel really. Then I'll get the 2 idlers on, AC compressor in, get the return lines tightened. The feed for the injection pump, I have a hose right here. I got some lube on it. I also got lube. That is going to be the crankcase for the crankcase vents. I have, well, that's just great. I got this fitting right here. It just Y's basically. I'll have to make sure it's going to flow the correct way. I don't know if there's like a little line in there that makes it flow a certain way, but anyway, this crankcase vent and this crankcase vent off the valve cover, I'm going to do something like this. Put it like right here, and then those two will go to here. This is basically a factory catch can. So what it does is the oil, there's like a weird passage in here to where the gas goes up and over and down out of this pipe onto the ground, and then the oil flows out of here into the bottom of the upper oil pan right here. So it's basically a factory catch can. I did have a catch can I was going to add, but then I figured if the factory had it, then why not use it? It might look a little more clean. That's the way they designed it in the first place. So that's what I will be doing. And then I think I'm going to probably set the wiring harness on soonish. But yeah, it's coming along pretty nice. Don't really have a whole lot of interesting things to show. It's just bolting on a lot of small stuff. Now I just got the air intake pipe on. I'm not going to put the air box on yet because I don't want to scratch the intercooler pipe when I put that in. Plus I'm not quite to that point yet. But went in and put the air intake pipe on, got the wiring harness set on. I did go through the wiring harness. I know I didn't show any of that on video. I did that a few weeks ago. But basically, I broke the harness down so all the wires are with their individual connectors. Like, they aren't one giant thing and then split off into what they are. I kind of broke everything down into its own wire. That allows me to route this a little more clean. I got the ground down here, and then the cam and crank, the cam wire I do need to repair. That one is broken, but those guys will be right there. Grounds will be right down here on the block. Went ahead and got those wrapped in harness. The Fickum, obviously that's not going to rest right on that wire, but this will be lifted up a little bit. We'll have the alternator plug, which it's kind of annoying because that wire is going to kind of stick up, so I'll have to wrap that harness to where that doesn't look too ugly. But the accessory wiring that goes over top of here, that includes the alternator wiring, the AC, I think the MAF sensors included in that. I electrical taped that, but I did not do harness wrap. Like, this is like a more clean harness wrap. So if I can, I'll put this loom on it. If not, I'll just do the harness wrap for now. But I'm going to try my best to hide all that. It's coming together pretty good. I did get the accessory brackets on. We got all this stuff tightened. There's really not a whole lot left to do with the accessories. The power steering lines do need tightened. I need to get some hose clamps for this. Fill it with power steering fluid, and then after I crank it, we'll have to refill this with fluid. I'll have to fill the trans. We won't be cranking it in this video. I will save that for next video. Right now, we're just preparing everything. This fuel line right here, I got a hose clamp on that, so I'm prepared to run that down. Gonna get that clipped in. That is going to be straight to the feed line here. We are bypassing the Fickum and filter head because you don't need it. So I'm going to go ahead and get that line on, and then we'll see where we're going from there. So I know it looks like I did a lot here, but really I just put on all the pipes so I can see where I need to hide wiring and the hoses. Basically what we have here is where all the pipes are going to be. Obviously this is like the rough way because they're not on the intercooler, but this gives me a good, it allows me to see where the wiring harness needs to be. These big connectors, I want to try and get behind this pipe. The fuel feed, I think I'm just going to kind of route straight through here, honestly. Really everything behind here, the Fickum wiring, I'm not too concerned about this. So obviously this doesn't have the support yet, so this will be up a little bit. So that Fickum wiring will be okay. I get to move it over a little bit, but gotta get the FPR plugged in. The wiring, this spot right here is kind of ugly. So this is the place. I need to kind of clean all this up. Not a lot I can do about it right now, but I at least know if I can get these two behind this over here, that'll look a lot better. What's also helping this is the top side thermostat housing, because obviously on the factory trucks, this pipe goes straight through everything and then it ends right about here. So getting parts off the top of the motor was kind of my goal here, because I like to see stuff, and this is obviously easier to work on because you have one less thing in the way. So one complaint about the Duramax is the same with all the wiring over here. I've cleaned all that up. There's just so much stuff in the way when these are factory. The turbo's up out of the valley now too, so it's easier to work on. I could probably have this pulled in like 5 minutes really, but I do like how this kit fits. I got to get a coolant tank still. There's a lot of space over here still. Fickum looks good, so this side over here I'm not really going to worry about. The crankcase hose I'm still in the process of making. I'll have that done before this video ends, but just going to keep putting on small pieces. I got to get the fuel feed on next, and then we'll see where we are after that. You can kind of see what I got going on here. The crankcase vents are done. I just ran it under the turbo right here. Compressor housing should not get that hot, so that line will be fine right there. And then I just tucked the wiring back here. This is the fuel line. Obviously, it's not hooked up yet, but that's just kind of what that area is going to look like. Got the crankcase fitting on right here. I need to tighten the oil line on the turbo before I forget, and then I start the truck and sprays oil all over everything. Probably just give up and sell the truck if that happened. But one of the things I do remember I need is a pin kit for the fluid damper. Can't remember if I went over that earlier, but basically I had the XDP kit, but that one's not compatible with the fluid damper. So now I need to sell the XDP one and get the fluid damper pin kit. Basically all you do is there's like a little jig thing you put in here, and then there's a hole, and you drill the hole and tap the pin in, and it keeps the damper from spinning. Because if this spins and your crank gets off balance, your crank explodes and you're having a bad day. As for parts on the shelf over here, we are pretty much running out. Do have some lug nuts. Need to get the filler neck on, the last brake line in the back. Some small stuff. This is the trans cooler, the extra large PPE one. Then I have a 4 6 polished elbow, which I think is a lot bigger than I thought it would be. Over the next week, the plan is to get the suspension completely buttoned up. I really don't have a lot to do. Just got some stuff to torque. Got to get this ABS wire straight. The battery terminals, I have to get these routed correctly. Once I get the brake line on, I got to get the brakes bled. I already have trans fluid in it. I need to add transfer case fluid. I need an output shaft seal. Need to clean up the drive shaft and get it put back on. Probably should get some new U-joints for that. The downpipe I still have failed to put in. Same with the trans lines, but those will go in eventually. I'm very tired. I've been out here a long time, and I don't feel like crawling under. And yes, before anyone says anything, the paint is chipping on the calipers because it's a 17-inch wheel, and this is a kit for stock wheels. So that is a 17-inch wheel, so basically it's really close. When you go to put the tire on, kind of scrapes the paint off, but oh well, you can't see it anyway. Who cares? This is the wiring situation on the other side. These are where the two big connectors go. That is the alternator charging wire. That's the TCM. This is like the MAF sensor, some of the coolant stuff, the AC stuff. So all of this is super ugly. Has to go over the top of all that pretty stuff up there. So I will be wrapping this in the actual harness wrap so it matches. I did this electrical tape forever ago, like over a year ago. So, oh, shop chicken. Shop chicken just jumped. She's not allowed to jump because she walks around and poops everywhere, as you can see in her truck over there. I guess we'll be carrying her around the rest of the video. This is where the shop chicken sits, for anyone wondering. She sits on the trash can and poops in it. Basically all she does all day. I let her in so she can eat and drink, and then she comes back and poops a little more. She's blind in one eye, so she can't get around very well. But if you see her in the background on a trash can, that's where she's supposed to be. And if you don't, she's probably walking around pooping all over the floor. This piping kit looks so good every time I keep walking past it. Let's do an edit. that's going to be it for today's video. I'm going to go ahead and get this one posted, even if it is a 15-minute video, because I really need to get something posted, because I said I was going to post for the last 3 weeks. So I'm going to go ahead and call it here. Been a very, very long night. Got a lot of work done on the truck. Super excited to see how far it's come. So that's going to be it. Thank you guys for watching. See you later.